I want to share something that was very, when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. So the phrase was, intention is more than wishful thinking, it is willful direction.
I like that.
Intention is more than wishful thinking, it is willful direction. And I thought that was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that makes so much more sense. It's about aim and purpose. It's about plan a little bit of planning, but of setting the stage for whatever we're looking for, whatever we're wanting.
hmm
Yeah.
when you said that, it reminds me of like I always see it as like the archer. Maybe like, like the Sagittarius is like the archer, right? But it just reminds me of someone um wanting to shoot an arrow, right? But you don't shoot an arrow all aimlessly.
Mhm.
Like you do have intent. And when a person is well in, you know, when they know what they're doing, they're not a beginner archer. Like they're pretty much they know what they're doing. Like they're trying to shoot their shot and it is intentional. So I really like that quote. I haven't heard that, but I really like that. Like, because that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's about with purpose, right? That's
Yeah.
my with purpose or intentional. Made a painting where I did little rocks, and last year I had three different words. This year I have three other words that are what I want to focus on this year, and one of them is intentionality. But for the sake of the stone that that I created, intentionality can't fit. So with purpose is what it is. And another part of with attention setting, it's like laying the foundation for what you'd like to have, feel, and experience versus just being a passive participant going through the motions. It's about like
hmm
on purpose. It's so much about that. And I think that's a lot of what we are trying to do here of being more mindful about what the moon is about so that we can be able to use the power, use what the different stages of the moon, like so when it's in the full moon, whether versus the new moon, what is that about? So we can just do the things like start setting the foundation for what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the intentions, and you always bring that up. Like it's like I know, but I love how you bring it up. Because I don't feel like I share it enough, or like I want to, but it just don't.
Yeah.
And um, that is something that got me into connecting with the moon too, was like setting intentions, being more purposeful, because it's like when I started learning about emotional wellness, emotional intelligence, even like me, I'm a very emotional person. I've always been called you're too sensitive, blah blah blah. And it wasn't until I started realizing that my sensitivity was actually like my superpower,
Yeah.
and really like being present with myself and present with my emotions. Because like when you're just like all over the place and like you're just like wow, like literally like okay, overly sensitive, to ground you back, you need to kind of know like, well, what am I feeling right now?
Mhm.
So it's like yeah.
Yeah. And so many people just want to get out of those emotions. There, it's too much. I can't. Or hearing people say, "You're so sensitive," that could say, like, "Well, fortunately, you haven't gone cold and been so stoic where you don't have any emotions," because that would make me sad. But I think that we have emotions for a reason. We can't avoid that. If we just give it a little bit of attention, it's just it is what it is. It's not going to hurt us. Emotions don't feel great all the time, but they
Mhm.
pass. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be it's not going to be the same all the time. You're not going to be sad for 15 years straight. I mean, there's the depression part. Yeah, we have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
But even with depression, there are moments where you might feel a little bit better and a little bit, just it's not always consistent. You are happy, you might then be anxious, you might then be, but just owning it and just sitting in it, being intentional in the moment with whatever you're feeling, I think that's a part of healing.
Yeah, it is because like you just said, intentional with like when you're present with your feelings, right? And then you start being more intentional with um your actions, then you know, like in a way, just like with the moon too, a lot of people talk about manifestation, right? Now this can get a little woo woo, but I do feel like on the practical part, when you're present and you tap into those emotions and then you make intentions with those emotions, things do manifest.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and sometimes you can't control certain things, and then that's like kind of getting, like I say, like sometimes it's like, oh, woo, 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 like, oh, well,
Mhm.
but and at its simplicity, um, we do, and that's another thing, like, this is why I like chakras, because we're tapping into our own energy and our emotions and how it plays out, how we're receiving and putting out. So
Yeah,
presence and manifestation to me is about creativity.
yeah. I think many people over the years have talked about law of attraction,
Mhm.
manifesting, and I think that I'm big on vision boards, so big on vision boards. And what I think most people struggle with is they create the vision board and they put it in a corner or they leave it in their file folder on the computer because you can do it on the computer these days, where it's like,
Mhm.
no, you have to see it because if you want it to be true, you have to envision it, you have to see it, and you have to put it into words sometimes, and you have to put it out there because the
Yeah.
universe will see it and give it to you. And I'm big on that. When I wanted some things, I had to say it. If I don't believe I
Absolutely.
deserve something, then I don't believe I deserve it, and it's not going to happen. But if I just start
Mhm.
like I deserve it and it's mine, sooner or later it's going to be.
Absolutely, because like you do have to believe it, because you can say things a lot, but if you don't really believe it, then it's kind of like a disconnect.
Yeah,
And seeing it is a lot of times for us believing it.
yeah. It was so funny. Last like 2 years ago, I went to a party, like a dance party thing for ballroom, and they were doing a raffle giveaway. And I said that's gonna be mine. That's mine. Next one's mine. Guess who won? Me.
Yes.
And I was like, because I really believed it. I said, "Oh,
Mhm.
win! I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. It's fine." And then I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But I put it out there, and I truly believed it. And it was the first time that it's ever happened that way. I was like, "Wow." Actually, second, but I don't think I was conscious of it the first time something like that happened. But
Mhm.
and I think that the moon helps. I've been doing lately when you're talking about going back to rituals for a minute, pulling a card. I try to give I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning, but I still feel the energy there. I intentionally sit down and I take the cards one on the new moon, the full moon, all just especially on the for my birthday, I do it just so I can figure out what the year ahead is going to look like. But I intentionally
Mhm.
sit down and I see, okay, I want to know what's for me in terms of blah blah blah. What is for me in the year ahead? What should I look forward to? Or but I love cards for that reason, tarot for that reason.
Yeah. It is definitely a reflection, and um for me a way to like be present,
Mhm.
and just let me know sometimes, like, okay, what is my subconscious saying? Um, or how I'll say, like, how is my higher self speaking to me in that way or manner. But um I do love cards too, because they're very tangible. They're visual. I'm a very visual person. Um,
Mhm.
how I learned tarot was not with the book at first. And I just was looking at them. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, I'm getting self-conscious. So then I
Uh-huh.
started looking at the book. But yeah, I found my way where I feel secure about it.
That's awesome. I'm still learning, so I'll continue to pick your brain on that. Um,
Yeah, you always can.